Hi everyone, today I want to share a couple of projects with the Flight of Fancy stamp set. When I saw the August to December mini catalog, this was one of the stamp sets that caught my eye. I thought it was really cute and whimsical, and I thought it was just an adorable little stamp set. And I forgot kind of about it after a while because I got caught up in all of the, I love the stamp sets that have matching dies and papers and, those huge collections. So this is kind of a standalone little set here, and I forgot all about this little beauty. So I thought I would play around with it today. And we have just a little bit of time left before Halloween, so I made a Halloween card and then I made a Christmas card, and I haven't quite gotten to Valentine's yet. So it's kind of nice that it has those 3 occasions, and that's really fun. And it doesn't have dies or punches that go with it, so it's just something that you're gonna get creative with, and you can put any of your sentiments with it. You'll notice there are no sentiments in this stamp set. They focused on these 3 large images here, and then these cute little 3 little images. And it kind of reminded me of a Hostess set from last catalog that had this cute little fairies, and they were adorable. So anyway, it just reminded me of that, and I just thought it was adorable. Anyway, so I made a Halloween and a Christmas card with it, and I thought I would make those with you. So this is a red rubber stamp, and I like those, and it's a high quality stamp. And I'm going to start with the Valentine's. I'm going to start with the Halloween version. I haven't quite gotten to the Valentine's yet. So here's my Halloween. And it's really similar to the catalog, but just a little simpler. So the catalog samples are so cute, and let me show them to you. You've got, here's the little witch, and it's almost like that. I was looking at it, and that obviously I was inspired by it, but I wanted something that was a little simpler. And this one has these really gorgeous clouds cut out probably from a die or maybe just hand cut, and they have some gold sponging on them, and the happy haunting is gold sponge, and then this vellum little broom swoosh is also gold embossed. So it's got a lot of really cute details. But I thought I would try to come up with something a little more simple so I can mass produce it. And but this is really cute. Catalog samples are always awesome. The catalog, the creative artists behind all these samples are just outdo themselves every time. And then this one here is super cute too, and it inspired my Christmas card as well. So these you're going to see are similar to what we're going to make, but I've just kind of taken them and simplified them a little bit. And the Valentine one is super cute too, and I haven't just gotten into Valentine's yet, and I like how they've used it as a tag. So you can see you can use these for cards and tags and just anything. I think they're just adorable. Anyway, so here is the Halloween card, and this is all done with sponging, and I want to show you how to do that in a simple and fast way, and then we'll do the rest of the card and put it together. And then the Christmas version is simple too. So here's the first one, and what you're going to need for that is a piece of rich raspberry to serve as your card base. So this is a half sheet and then scored down the center. And then we've got a piece of Whisper White, and this one is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I went through my scrap bin and I found a piece of rich raspberry. I think it's about 1 inch, maybe slightly under. No, it's about 1 inch wide, and then it's just whatever long, and then we'll cut it to what we need. And so the other thing we're using is just a piece of scrap white for our witch stamp. So let me do that. Now I want to color with Stampin Blends, and that means I need to use Memento Black, and that's because Stampin Blends are an alcohol-based ink, and so you want to make sure to not use an alcohol-based ink on your black, because then they will blend together, because the blends are meant to blend together. So you can't use something, say, like a StazOn, because that's also a permanent ink, and it'll blend together. Hopefully that makes sense. So I don't need the swooshy part here. I just need the main witch image. So I didn't really care about inking up that. And I'm going to color this with my Stampin' Blend. So let me grab, I've got a couple different colors I used. Let's see if they got them right. This is dark Blackberry Bliss. I want that, and then I wanted my 2 rich raspberries. Okay, so the colors I grabbed were dark Blackberry Bliss, and then the 2 shades of Rich Razzleberry, and then I've got Gray Granite in both light and dark for the mouse, and then Ivory I've used on the witch's face with a little cheek of light Flirty Flamingo, and I've got a dark mango for the wand, and then for the broomstick I think I'll grab Crumb Cake. Okay, now I'm not going to bother with the moon here because I'm making my own moon, and I'm just going to start with the broomstick. So I kind of went over the whole thing with the light, and then I'm going to take the dark and just do some little hairs, little wispies, and maybe a shadow on the bottom of the broom. Okay. For the mango, I just used it a little bit on the wand here, just for fun. Okay, now for the face of my little witch here, I've got Ivory, and I'm just going to do kind of her whole face. And don't forget her little hands. And I use the Flirty Flamingo just on her cheeks. Little added cuteness. I also used it on the mouse's ear. It's kind of fast coloring here. It's a very simple little pattern, little design. So then for the mouse, I just used the light Gray Granite on the whole mouse's body. And I went in with the dark and just kind of gave his back a little roundness and some little highlights on the tops of his ears, just to give him a little bit of shadow and depth. And then most of the coloring that shows up on here is in her little outfit. So I went over the entire outfit in light Rich Razzleberry. And I went right on top of those stars, just to make coloring easier. Now if you were doing a different color on there, like a lighter, I'm doing kind of almost the same color. It's just a deep, deep version of it. So I thought it was okay. But if you wanted those stars to be really stand out bright, then you'd have to go around them. And then I took the dark Rich Razzleberry and I just added some little darkness, like maybe under her chin, a shadow under her arm, and then the edges of the hat, just to give them some shadowy form. Okay. And look down her back here. And then I went back over those edges just to kind of smooth them out. It kind of blurs them the line out, so the line that I drew here down her back, for example, is not so harsh. So you're kind of blending. Okay, and we're almost done now. All I need is this dark, this is the dark Blackberry Bliss, which is almost, it's a similar color family to the Rich Razzleberry, just an intenser color, and it has, I think, a little bit of, tiny bit of blue in it. There, so I've kind of gone over those stars and really deepened them just a little more. So she's done. All we have to do is cut her out. Now you need a really nice sharp pair of scissors. I have the Stampin Up or paper snips, which I think are pretty awesome. If you have a nice sharp, not so big pair of scissors. And you're just cutting her out. And I know that that sometimes can be intimidating when there's not a die for something. Sometimes it's Stamp Camp. Back when I had Stamp Camp, I sure missed that. When I said that you had to cut something out, I'd get a groan. But then once they cut it out, they realized, oh, it wasn't too bad. So think to yourself about what a die would do. Like a die wouldn't go all the way up in between these little shoes. So allow yourself to not go up in between all those little shoes. I'll speed out my cutting up part. I like to show that I cut it out because a lot of people have electronic cutters and like an e-cutter that will cut out stamped images. I don't actually. I have an old version. I think I can update, but I haven't. And I just don't use it. It's just kind of sitting on my shelf and it doesn't, this is actually not that hard, and I feel like it's easier to just hand cut it than to fuss with that machine. So I don't use my electronic cutter anymore, and it's not something that Stampin' Up sold, so it just kind of, I just never really used it, and I never really felt the need to. So I think these are not so hard to cut out. They, you know, for some people obviously they might have a little more difficulty with these smaller shapes, but if you can. Okay, so I cut out my little witch, and you can decide how detailed you want to get. Like I said, I kind of didn't cut out this little notch here. Here I did. I didn't bother going in between the feet. You know, just kind of think to yourself, you know, what's important and what's not, and don't make yourself crazy. Okay, now the fun part is this background. It's actually quite simple. You're going to go ahead and use Whisper White, and here I used two colors. I've got Pacific Point and Night of Navy, and I'm going to start with a Post-it note. Now I found a fun thing at the store not too long ago, full stick Post-it notes, and that means that in the past, I think I opened one somewhere, you know, Post-it notes were only sticky at a strip at the top, but now they have them where they're sticky at the whole entire note, except for this little bit so you can pick it up. Like the entire thing is sticky. How cool is that? So I'm gonna see if I can get another use out of this one. So I just punched this out with a paper punch. There we go. And you're just gonna go ahead and put that down in the middle. Now, like I said, I've used this already once, so I'm not sure. It's still sticking really good. So anyway, I want to do a little plug for the full stick notes that came in a pack like this. Lays flat longer. Anyway, I really like them. That's my little public service announcement. So I'm going to start with the Pacific Point. I'm not going to use too much of this one, and I have sponges. Now this is a Stampin Sponge. Let me show you what they normally look like. They look like this, and I cut it in half, and then I cut it in wedges of 3, so I get 6 of these. I mean, this is nice to have too. Big sponges are good, but I tend to use them in more small work, so I cut mine up. So you get a pack of 3, so maybe cut up 2 and leave 1 big. I don't know, something like that. And also, I take a piece of paper and I have a punch that's called a tab punch. But even if you don't have a tab punch, you can take a little scrap of paper or even, you know, something like this and cut it in half. And I was using a brad a long time ago, so this is an older one, to close these. But sometimes, you know, you can just use a stapler and just kind of go ahead and make yourself a holder. This is kind of a nice way to hold on to it and your fingers don't get quite so gross. And ink up. Now you might need to re-ink your pad if it's kind of older and it needs more juiciness. Mine, I think, is pretty good. So you're just going to kind of add some Pacific Point closer to that moon. So I went right on the edges with the Pacific Point. Looks nice with that pink Post-it note too. You can make a pink moon. Okay, and then I did the same thing with Night of Navy, but this time I finished off the piece of cardstock. So this is Night of Navy. Okay, now if you feel you need some more of the specific point, I kind of do. I feel like I don't want to get rid of the Pacific point entirely, but I feel like there's too much lightness there. So I'm going to do a little more. Ooh, like that. Okay, so now when you remove this, you're going to still have your white moon. Like so. Now you can leave it full on white like this, and that looks great. It looks kind of very spooky, and then you can put her in front. I wanted to just kind of tone it down just a little bit, so I took my Pacific point and just kind of rubbed a little bit over the moon like so, and then just kind of see like there's some clouds going in front of the moon. I just kind of added a little navy like so. Okay, so there's your moon. And then to add some speckle to the sky, I'm going to put this back down actually, because I don't want speckles on my moon. And I'm going to flick this with some frost white. This is a shimmery ink. If you're looking online for this, go into coloring tools and look for it's under the glitter section. But it's like an ink, and it's called Frost White, and it has a shimmer to it. And this is going to make our stars in the sky. This is also great if you want to pretend there's snow falling in the sky. So then you're just going to take a paintbrush and flick it onto your cardstock. And I'm using, if I can find it. Here it is. An older aqua painter. The newer ones are different. And it's not that I'm using it because this is going to harm your brush. It's not. It's just that it's sitting here, and I use my brushes like crazy, and I don't want to clean this one. So I know I used it earlier. So you're just going to get a little bit of that ink, and when you shake it, some kind of naturally goes into the lid. So go ahead and just use that. And then you're just going to flick it. I use the cap to flick. You know, if you have to clean it, I just can see I'm a little bit messy of a stamper, so I have used this cap many times to flick ink. And you know, you can clean it out every once in a while with a Q-tip or something. Pick up some more ink, and if you want bigger splatters, you know, just get even more ink on your brush, or get it a little more wet. I got a little bit of splatter that's going to get covered up with my happy haunting word. So you can clean this off on your Stampin' Scrub, or run it under some water. So now to create my happy haunting, as I said, this stamp set does not have any sentiments in it, so it doesn't have the happy haunting. And right across the page from the Flight of Fancy set is this one, which is called Celebration Tidings, and it happens to have the happy haunting. It also has Merry Christmas, so it was staring at me and I thought, oh, I'll just use this. But there's a ton of really great sentiment stamps that have a lot. Another one I was going to choose, and I'm going to show you real quick, is this Banner Year, and I like this for two reasons. One, is that it has the things I need. It's got a Christmas wishes, be merry, grateful heart, guess who loves you. So all this is great for all three of those images from the Flight of Fancy stamp set. But it also has a bundle with this banner punch edge, or like little trimmer for the bottom, or the tag end, you know, like the little flag end. So I think this is super awesome. And this is a great little collection of images and words. And the punch, I've used it like crazy. So maybe take a look at, if you need a sentiment set, this is a great one for sentiments, especially this time of year, because you've got, you know, like a Valentine-y, XOXO, and, you know, but also Thanksgiving, which is always needed. It's hard to find the words Happy Thanksgiving. There's always words like thankful and grateful, but Happy Thanksgiving is nice, and Christmas wishes and all that, and you're sweet. I mean, it's perfect. Anyway, so I'm going to go with Happy Haunting. Oh, that's the Merry Christmas one. Where's my Happy Haunting? And here I'm just going to emboss. I wanted there to be some more white to kind of go with the white around the witch, and also I've used it for that splatter, so throw in some more white on my very dark card. So we're going to do a white embossing. So for that you're going to use Versamark, which is a sticky ink pad. They call it a watermark stamp pad because you can get a tone on tone with this, but I'm using it for its stickiness. And then I just grab a scrap piece of paper and my white embossing powder. Next, I'm just going to heat this up. Trim off the bottom there. Just for fun, I went on a little angle. Usually I use that little tag punch. In fact, it's kind of always sitting right here on my desk, but I don't know, I kind of liked that. Okay. So next I wanted to add some kind of ribbon, and if you noticed, there's not every color of ribbon in the catalog these days. So I wanted to make some in this rich raspberry, and I thought I'd throw in some Night of Navy, so I kind of made my own ribbon. And what I did was I took this Crinkle seam binding ribbon. Now this is kind of a must-have, I think. I don't know how many rolls of this I've gone through because it is so easy to color, and it ties so flat. So some people don't like the crinkledness of it, but I actually really like it. I think it looks really sweet on just about anything, and coloring it is so easy. So how you color it, I planned for about 13 inches of ribbon. And then you're just going to take your Stampin Blends. So let me grab, this is the dark rich raspberry, and I'm just going to go ahead and color it. You can also just rub it along your ink pad. These are on my desk, so if you have a rich raspberry ink pad, you can just rub it along that. And it's thin enough where it goes through both sides, like I don't have to turn it over and do the next side. I'm just gonna do that, and then we'll do the same thing with the navy. Okay, now here's where I make it a little more challenging, and you don't have to go as crazy as me. So I wanted to use both of them, and I thought both of them was too thick. And so much for keeping my fingers clean, right? And I also like the jagged roughness of cutting this. So I cut them actually down the center, and it's a skinny ribbon, so it's kind of tricky to go down the center. But I did. And you can decide whether it's worth it or not for yourself. Maybe you want to make this even simpler and not cut it. So here, I just went down the whole thing, and I have one already done, so you don't have to watch it again. So this makes it thinner, obviously. And then I also just kind of ran my finger down it to kind of rough up the edges, kind of fray some of it, just a tiny bit, so it's a little bit frayed. And I already have, because I cut this one, I've got the other halves of it, so I've already got that done. And then I tied a bow with this. Now if you let that dry, it won't ruin your fingers quite so much. Then I just kind of crinkled it back up, and see how I've got those little frayed edges? I kind of like that because it's Halloween and spooky. Okay, so this is just going to get layered down to the cards now. So here we can put it all together. As you can see, I wasn't careful when I was flicking a card earlier, and I have speckles all over my card. That's okay. And I just realized it's not scored. So I'm going to score it 4 1/4. Okay. Now for the bow, I'm going to stick that down with a glue dot, and I'm going to put it in where I think it'll be just enough to where it covers. I don't want it to cover too much of the little witch and her broom. Okay, now let's put down the little witch. Now here it's nice to have some of these mini dimensionals because you can get into some of these little corners, and you don't want your witch to get caught on anything and come off. So you can do like up higher on the hat, or maybe even on the puff ball. Yep. All right, there is my little happy haunting cute little witch, and then let's put together this Christmas card. This one's a little simpler, not as much steps going on. Okay, now here I've got a scrap of paper. It's about 3 by 3 3/4, I believe. Yep. Okay. And I'm gonna stamp this cute little angel flying over the city. And then something I wished on my card that I made first was that there was another little star up higher than her, and so there isn't, but I can make one. I only wanted there to be one, so I kind of inked up just that corner. There. For some reason that made me happy. Okay, so the angel is colored a different way. I wanted to do something different with the angel and make her coloring a little softer than the Stampin' Blends. And so what I did here is I colored with this is called a blender pen from Stampin' Up. And you know, it's funny, once the Stampin' Blends came out and watercolor aqua painters and watercolor pencils, I kind of lost the use of my blender pen. I just kind of forgot about it. And it's actually a really nice little thing. So I thought I would use it again and kind of help us remember it, because it's a cute little thing. Cute little pen, and you get them in a pack, and they're double-sided, but they're all the same. The sides are the same. They're not colorful. They have kind of like a, I'm not exactly sure what's in here. I've heard that it's kind of like a glycerin type solution, and it just allows you to pick up. You can use this with your watercolor pencils and help blend your pencils. And you can also use it to, we used to sell chalk pastels, and you could use it with that. And you can also use it with your ink. So what you would do is go into your lid here. Now if you don't have ink in your lid, you can squeeze your pad to kind of make ink go in the lid. I take my dropper and I drop ink in the lid. Or you can take one of your little clear blocks and press it into the ink to get some ink on an area that you can pick up with the blender pen. So I'm just going to use it now, and I'm going to add color to her hair. This is Cinnamon Cider, and I really like the addition of this color. It's kind of almost my color of hair. When I was younger, my hair was redder, but now it's kind of brown. I like to pretend it's still red, but it's not really. Once I start dyeing it, I'm going to dye it red. Okay, so I'm going to add a little cinnamon cider to her hair. And you can see how I can get darks and lights by the first place you touch the blender pen, it's going to come out strong. So you're going to get dark colors, but then as you use it, it kind of lightens. So you can get highlights with the blender pen, which is kind of nice. And then to change colors, you're just going to go like this and get that color off. So it's really simple. And then as far as coloring the little villages, oh, I wanted to add some cinnamon cider to the village just to use it more than once, and I forgot. So I'm adding it to the rooftops. Maybe and then because you can get those darks, you know, and lights, you can add shadow and you can make it look like it's watercolor almost. So I've got some darks and lights. Get that cinnamon cider off and go on to a different color. Now my card base is Pool Party, so I wanted to bring that in for sure. So I'm using Pool Party on her outfit, her gown. And she has a pattern to her gown, and you can decide if you want to use that pattern or just selectively edit it and not use the pattern. And always remember, the first place you put the blender pen down, it's going to show up the darkest because you've got fresh ink. So maybe start in an area where you want it to be darkest, like the edge or under her chin. You maybe want that so it's darker. And just kind of be mindful of that when you're working with the blender pen. Blender pens are really fun. So if you haven't tried it, you know, maybe throw one on your next order and think about just picking up a new skill. Alright, as you can see, I selectively edited, and she has patterns, but they're all one color. Okay, now as far as the city goes, you know, you can pick whatever you like. Earth tones. I thought maybe I'd use Cajun Craze, so it looked like maybe there was a Spanish roof tile on some of these. That was Grey Granite. This is Crumb Cake. And some Shaded Spruce. You know, I thought about adding some Shaded Spruce to her gown, just little gems maybe, emeralds, just because I used Shaded Spruce for the sentiment. Now for her face, you can go ahead and use your Stampin Blends, ivory marker, or different skin tone markers that you might have. I decided to do that because they're really in the ink families. There's Petal Pink, which looks really nice for some skin tones. Blushing Bride has been used as well, but the ivory marker is something that I have. And it most matches my skin tone. Well, mine's kind of pink, I have to say. So that's what I kind of am drawn to, but you can kind of look through and see what colors will work for what you're looking for. Again, I used Flirty Flamingo on the cheeks. Okay. Alright, so I've got my angel done, and now the rest is pretty simple. So I wanted to add, I like to put it underneath something, kind of to make a window. And so I wanted to use a piece of Pool Party, and I wanted to give it some texture, so I thought I would go through an embossing folder. And I have been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for 15 years, and I've been a stamper longer than that, and yet I still forgot to cut first and then emboss. And the reason is because when you run it through your embossing machine, you're gonna, like, so I had to run it through my embossing machine. On this one, I ran the folder through first, so I gave it this texture, which is nice. But then I ran it through again to cut out my window, which then squished some of my texture. And you'd think I would have known that, and I think I just wasn't thinking. So I want to tell you where this window comes from. It's from a die cut set from the Hippo collection, actually. Isn't that funny? Hippo and Friends dies. Now I like the Hippo and Friends stamps. They're cute. There's a unicorn and a hippo and a little sheep, and they're adorable. A little butterfly. But what I really like about the set is the dies. Look at these dies. They're nesting, so you can do some really nice fun things. They have stitching detail on the outside and inside, so you can use them. You can use the, so see how I've got stitching detail here around the frame, and the part that got cut out also has stitching detail, so I'm going to actually save this and use it on something, a different sentiment, so I'm going to hang on to that. So it's just a really awesome little, and I look at this cute little fun little rickrack pattern, and it's just a cute little, and you can make little flowers, little balloons. Totally, this is a ribbon slide, totally awesome dies. So even if you don't like the unicorn and the hippo, maybe take a look at these dies, but the hippo and the unicorn and the sheep are really cute. So, and I made a card with that. Look through my videos, you'll find it. Anyway, so I'm using a die cut from that, which I can't find right now. There it is. And then I used the smaller version of the same die. And this is from the Hippo and Friends. This one was here, and this one was here. So you get all that. Anyway, these two. And again, I'm using the Merry Christmas is from that same stamp set, the Celebration Tidings. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out, and then we're going to run it through the embossing folder. So kind of decide where you want it. So there I've got my window, and now I'm going to put it through the embossing folder. Okay, so here it is. And now this folder is called the Dainty Diamond. So it's got these cute little diamond patterns on it, which I thought kind of was nice with my little angel here. Now, see how my stitching shows up more on the one I did that afterwards, and my stitching doesn't show up as much because it got squished in the plate. So you kind of have a back and forth decision on what to do first and second on that one. All right, so putting this together is relatively simple. You're going to put your angel behind here. Now what I like to do is I like to add some adhesive to the image and hold it in place and then kind of line it up. But notice there was no adhesive on this pool party place. That just tells me where to stick this. And now this is going to go down with some dimensionals. Okay, and then you're going to go ahead and put this down. Okay, and then I did this ribbon here the same way. I cut it down the middle, so I cut, and this is even skinnier and even trickier, so you have to decide again if this step is worth it to you. Now this is a copper ribbon. Let me get you the name of it. And then I kind of frayed it like I did the other one, and then you get kind of these little copper hairs, which I kind of liked because then they reminded me of angel hair. The copper ribbon is part of a bundle, and it comes with a basket weave, like a jade ribbon, mint macaron. It's part of the Gilded Autumn collection. So let me get a glue dot, and then we're just going to do it the same we did the Halloween one. We're going to figure out where we want our bow. Oh, and then I gotta make I already cut this out, and we're just gonna emboss this with Merry Christmas. I'm going to fast forward this up so that the video is not quite as long. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you is the gems I used on this one are the Champagne Rhinestone Basic Jewels. The champagne color, you know, it has, champagne to me I always thought was kind of more of a rose gold, but these look a little bit yellow and just a tiny bit. They're not yellow, but they have kind of that copper look to them. So I really feel that they go nicely with this copper. And so, place those on. And there you go. There's a Christmas and a Halloween Flight of Fancy card. I hope that you think it's cute as I do. I just really think this is a sweet little stamp set, and I think the Valentine version is adorable as well. So I think that this is going to be a very useful set for this time of year coming up. All the winter seasons and fall seasons are covered. And so take a look at this when you're checking out the online store. And you can access that through my blog, Best Paper Cuts, at any time. And I have a frequent buyer rewards program that you can take advantage of and earn points towards free stamp sets. You can choose free host sets and free stamp sets with a full punch points card. So take a look at that at my blog, bestpapercuts.com. And I have a newsletter. If you'd like to sign up for that, there's a pop-up when you go to my blog. I think there's also a pop-up when you go to my Facebook page. Let me know if there's not, because there's supposed to be. Anyway, thank you for watching. I know this was a long one, but I hope you think it was cute. Bye.